This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Ross, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts.
Cover! We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and 3 Counts is the podcast, baby! It's the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and 3 Counts starts now.
Woo! What up, though? It is another Tuesday, and I don't got to get up in the morning because I'm going to go have some fun tomorrow. But this is Knockouts and 3 Counts, and man, we got a lot of shit to talk about. A lot of stuff went down this weekend, and as we speak, we are watching Dana White's Contender Series live in the background because past guest of the show, Mando Gutierrez, is going to be going to war with this 17-year-old phenom that everybody's talking about that I personally think is in way over his head. But with that being said, there's a lot to talk about there because, as you can tell from the thumbnail, War Games is making its way to WWE. So this is the first time you've ever had War Games, period, on the WWE main roster, and the first ever female War Games. I'm really excited to see how this is going. What up, though, Kathy? What up, though, Chris? I see y'all in the comments. Kathy, we are watching Dana White Contender Series in the background, so you'll get our live thoughts and commentary when Mando goes to war with this 17-year-old kid. Kathy, what are you thinking of all the people that Mando could have fought? How did he get the 17-year-old kid? I want to know what you think about it.
Crazy.
So
I love the fact, though, that it lined up with a show day so that we can actually do a little bit of coverage on our boy trying to beat up the 17-year-old. I had preferenced it to my old lady, right? Like, I almost feel bad because, like, of course, you know, you see this young kid and he's trying to do all this for himself, become a true professional athlete at the highest level.
Hey, yo!
And you're like, at first, I didn't know he was taking on Mando. So I was like, okay, hell yeah, a little 17-year-old kid. Like, let's see what he can do in there. And then I realized he was taking on our boy. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, I got to root against this kid now.
So,
like,
Corey, do you know much about this kid? Is he like a phenom of some sort? Is he? I mean, he's there for a reason, right?
He's a really good wrestler that mixes in ground and pound and chases the finish. So he, from all the highlights, he's, I believe, 5-0, and all of which are finishes, and all of which come from basically grounding the opponent out. You know, whether it be submission or ground and pound, but. He looks like he could be really good, honestly. I mean, no bullshit, man. He looks like he could definitely be good.
Yeah, but from what I saw, he hasn't had any real tough competition yet, though. Whereas where Mando has already fought in LFA, is training with the likes of Chaos Williams, Joaquin Buckley, Michael Gilmore. I mean, you've got a room full of killers over there at Murcielago MMA. So, I mean, he's already getting it in with top-notch guys. And, I mean, not saying that this kid isn't, but based on strength of schedule, too, is why I think that this is going to be a really good fight for Mando, because he's already fought in LFA and, again, training with the likes of who he's got in there. So I feel like that's going to be a big advantage. So, like I said, again, we'll be giving you our live thoughts and commentary once Mando gets into the cage. But since we've got so much MMA stuff to talk to, there was also UFC Vegas 60. There was also Triple G versus Canelo. If you guys watched the fight, what did you guys think? Did you guys have any problems with the DAZN app? Because I fucking hate the DAZN app. I just want people to know that. But with that being said, let's talk a little bit about some wrestling, shall we? There's some wrestling shit to talk about. So, J-Bone, what wrestling shit do you think we need to talk about first?
War Games, baby. Let's talk about War Games. Are we not excited for War Games? I'm pumped for War Games, dude. I always say I'm an old guy when it comes to this shit. I go back to Fall Brawl, fucking Vader, Sting, and the Horsemen in the War Games. Let's fucking go, dude. I'm pumped for that. My bad.
Not your bad, dude. I'm 100% with you. I'm looking forward to War Games. If anybody of you guys who are watching, what are you guys thinking about War Games? We're going to get into a little bit of the wrestling stuff before it gets time for Mando to step into the cage here for Dana White's Contender Series. We got that on in the background over here. But I'm with you, J-Bone. So, obviously, I was a little bit young for I was a little bit young for war games as they happen, you know, as far as like the old school ones with like the Horsemen and all that, but I've gone back and watched them all. I think the reincarnations that we've seen from NXT have been really good. And I think since Triple H had vast control over that and is now, like we know, in control of what we're going to see on the main roster, here's the other thing that I think makes this so interesting. This is also the first time it's ever been on the WWE main roster, and you never had a female one on the main roster. And Triple H made it clear that this isn't going to be the traditional Survivor Series 5-on-5. These are going to be story driven. So there's actually going to be a reason for these motherfuckers to be fighting, which makes me want to see it all the more. I think it's all but a foregone conclusion that one of those teams is going to have to be the Bloodline and Sami Zayn, but we'll see how that plays out. But I'm with you, J-Bone. I mean, a lot of those old ones with the Horsemen and Arn Anderson just being like the workhorse of war games, just getting in there every time and being the first one to step in. So for anybody that doesn't know, you know, in a traditional war games match, the first two that are in there got to go for 5 minutes before they start releasing them at the scheduled intervals. That means you got to be there through the whole match because you can't win until everybody's in the cage. So the guy that's starting for your team is got to be a gangster, and Arn Anderson, the enforcer, is a gangster.
I find it funny just a couple months back when you guys were trying to explain the significance of the War Games cage and what I was going to basically be getting myself into. I forget what show it was that we attended that had it, but what show is that, Kyle, that had the War Games?
GCW had War Games. I just saw their version of War Games again in Chicago.
Yeah,
it was about this time last year.
Yeah, but I remember you guys trying to explain the significance of it.
See, Piss Jug's excited for it too, and he was at War Games with all the stuff in Chicago as well.
Yeah, he was explaining. You guys were explaining how big of a historical thing it was back in the day in the wrestling world, and for them to be bringing it back, and I think it kind of speaks to your point, Kyle, that Triple H clearly liked what he's seen back in the day. He wanted to bring it in the NXT realm, and found success there, and now that he's at the helm is like, hey, this would be an interesting way to add a new dynamic of something that we've already done in the past. You know what I mean?
Kyle, were you a fan of when they took off the top of the cage for the NXT?
In a way, I think it makes it look different, obviously, because it makes it different than the, you know, like the normal War Game setup. Yeah. But I also like the adding of the weapons, but at the same time, with that being said, like I think that there's a limit to where like I don't want to see like the whole cage just all filled up with weapons, like right off the rip. Like throw some shit in as you get in there, you know, but I mean, like when it becomes that, then it's like the cage almost becomes secondary. And to me, the cage needs to be the focal point of it. I've liked what we've seen since it came back. And here's the interesting thing too. Now WWE doesn't have to worry about with having Cody Rhodes there, you know, the constant thing of it being Dusty's creation and all that kind of stuff, because now you've got Cody Rhodes over in the WWE as well. I really am excited to see how this is going to turn out with War Games, because like Mike said, I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm glad that they've already said that it's not going to be just like your basic Survivor Series, Survivor Series style thing where it's Team A versus Team B in an elimination style thing. I like that we're sticking to War Games. I like that we're sticking, from what Triple H says, we're going to have a story to everything. And, man, I'm looking forward to this. Like we said at the beginning of the show, past guest of the show, Mando Gutierrez is getting ready to step into the motherfucking cage for Dana White's Contender Series, trying to go get him a UFC contract. And he's going against a 17-year-old phenom who's 5-0, going to be 18 in a couple weeks. So it's not like he's fighting a kid. But at the same time, you know, it's wild. Out of all people that could have got that guy, it's Mando. And I mean, I'm just saying from what I've seen and having him on the show a few times, I mean, this kid better be ready, man, because Mondo's got tough experience against tough guys, dude. And I mean, but at the same time, I got to imagine this kid's got something. Otherwise, Dana wouldn't be putting him on the Contender Series. True. So it's going to be, you know, it's going to be a real interesting thing. What are your guys' thoughts on Mando getting the matchup with the 17-year-old kid?
Well, not only that, the 17-year-old, I believe Rosa Jr., if I'm not mistaken. I feel bad just keep.
Let's say we haven't called him by his name once.
Yeah, because even
Rosa.
in like my Twitter posts and all that shit, the 17-year-old kid, you know. But that being said, Mando, every time we've had him on the show, has definitely had that game face, right? Like he has always brought it. You could tell that intensity was real, both in his life and in his career. And he's taken this serious in making that step into the Dana White Contender Series. I know he's going to be taking it seriously. That being said, my thoughts on necessarily the matchup, clearly they're seeing something in this young kid because he's actually the one that's the favorite in this matchup. I don't know if it's just because of media hype or whatever the case be, because
I think it's a combination of the hype and the fact that he's still undefeated is why.
Yeah. But Mondo's only got one defeat, and to your point, Kyle, it was at the highest realm. It's basically the AAAs of the.
I agree. That's why I think that's why I think Mando may be able to catch him slipping. Well, while we're doing the tail of the tape here, waiting for Mando and them to get in the ring, as we see, they're introducing him to the fight crowd. J-Bone, what you saw what went down on Raw last night? What'd you think of Dom and Rhea, bro? Because Rhea Ripley is fucking gorgeous, first of all. But I'm definitely digging like the heel Eddie vibes with that badass mullet that Dom's got going on, and with Rhea chiming in with Poppy or Mommy, it doesn't matter because Mommy always get what she wants, and I'm like, dog, this is what I'm talking about. Because any man in America that isn't gay that says that they couldn't be enticed by Rhea Ripley, you're not red-blooded and American.
Look, I tweeted it out a while back. We've all done some crazy stuff for crazy women, right? So here we are. We've all been there before. Dom's just growing up, man. It's all part of growing up. You're gonna learn.
Becoming a man. She's making him a man, even though they're the same age.
But is it not turning out very well, that storyline? Honestly, I didn't know what to expect. I was ready to see Dom be a heel, but it's a lot better than I thought it was gonna be, man. Like you seen it last night, dude. The crowd wouldn't even let him talk. He was just getting the constant heat, man. It's good for him. It's actually cool to see him portray that because he was getting a lot of shit before. Like he didn't have it, but now you're seeing Dom really take in the heat.
Bro, I agree. And then I like Bubba's idea too. Like if they came out for a shirt for Rhea that said "I'm your mommy now," like the "I'm your Poppy Eddie Guerrero" shirt, dog, that's fucking money. Run that shit. Put that shit on the printer,
man.
Bro, you're not lying. Another thing I want to get to while we're still watching these introductions here is our boy Mando Gutierrez is getting ready to step in the cage for Dana White's Contender Series. All right. Now, I want to know, do you think that this white rabbit that we saw here on Monday Night Raw with the QR code and the light and all that stuff, is this the return of the Fiend?
Whatever they're doing something right, because they definitely are, like how you guys talk about in the world of wrestling. It's so much is based on storyline, anticipation, and the build up, and what the end product really is a result of everything that goes into it, right? It's not just that final moment, it's really everything else, right? It's the opposite of a fight, right? Where your camp can be the best thing in the world, but if you lose the fight, you lost the fight. It's the opposite of that in wrestling. It's everything that builds into it is what changes the actual outcome itself, whether win, lose, or draw. It leaves an impression with the fans. Them doing what they're doing with all this, like, subtle, not, like the first time that I seen like the initial clip of them playing the music and stuff, you could have thought like, oh, why did they choose some weird creepy music as like a random like in between like matches for a house show type of like music. And then once they like kind of continued to play on the theme and stuff, and now it's built the anticipation of this level where you're even, bringing it up on the show and stuff like that. They're definitely doing something in the right direction of building whoever the character or whatever the return of or new or whoever it ends up being. They're definitely doing something right with building up the anticipation. That's for sure.
So I agree, but that brings me two questions I got for you guys though. So J-Bone, with that being said, if it is Bray and Bray comes back, Piss Jug, Cody, all of you guys, Chris, if you guys are watching, I want to know what you guys think. Again, we're waiting for Mando to get in the cage, and we will be switching over. I'll give you my live thoughts and commentary on the fights and all that good stuff, which, speaking of commentary, you should stay tuned because myself and a special past guest of the show, maybe coming to some fights near you. But with that being said, if Bray does come back, do you want to see it acknowledged with Strowman and what we've seen since Alexa Bliss still has Lily in her hands?
No, I think we're past that now, dude. We could get
let's go Mando.
We can get beyond that, I think. But like we were talking about though, the utilizing of the social media right now, like they have not even been spoken on WWE Live TV. You've seen the QR code walk through the hard camera area, but they're putting it all over social media. Like the empty. Did you see the video of the empty arena playing the music?
Yeah,
creepy as hell.
That was the first
so
one that
creepy.
I creepy.
Like how cool is that though? Like that's how to utilize social media to gain a buzz. That is the perfect 101 in how to do it. Not even talking about it on TV. You're just using Twitter to make this thing go around. And look at how much everybody's talking about it already. There's gonna be a lot of disappointed people.
And I like that there were all the little subtle messages in it too. Like you could tell that there was thought into what was happening. So if that is what's going on, I hope it is. Bray, I'd love to see what happens. All in all, dude, that's something that really interests me to see how they would do that and what they're gonna do. Like I said, Mando is in the cage. Dana White's Contender Series. We're gonna go ahead.
How is Mando 3 inches shorter, but with the 3-inch reach advantage? That's wild, isn't it?
It's so weird
seeing
gangly arms 17 on the screen, dude. It's just weird.
Yeah, 17 versus 25. Here we go. Both of them make their way to the center of the cage.
A big dude for 17 years old, man.
Isn't he?
Man.
I'm surprised he can make 135, honestly.
Are we going to call Kyle? You going to call play-by-play on this?
Get me a little practice come lights out. Hey, Kathy, if you're watching, a rumor might have it that it might.
Oh, shit. Oh, he circled out. Good work. That's one thing. Mondo's guillotine is definitely dangerous. You've seen him get his finish multiple times with that in fights.
Mondo's doing a good job of getting his back to the cage. Anybody that knows anything about him, he loves to throw hands, but he is a wrestler by trade, so hopefully he can use it to get himself back up here. This kid's definitely showing tough for being a 17-year-old kid, dude. He's clearly not scared of the spotlight, but boy, got his legs all tangled up. Throw him! Wizard. Oh, let's go. Mando doing a good job with the wizard trying to take his back. Good job by Rosas, though. Taking that mount. Mondo's got to watch his neck. I'd let go of that head, man. You can get caught with that arm triangle. That's what he's looking for.
Accepting position right there. That's
good job. Good job. Up. Back to his feet. Man, but this kid Rosas,
I think I'm a couple seconds ahead of you guys, Kyle.
This Rosas man is putting, Rosas is
working out there, man.
Yeah, he's not, like I said, not scared by no means, dude.
No, but Mondo's he's doing good on every position. Like right now, he's trying to shake him off the back. You can tell Rosa's pretty high on the back right now. The only thing really holding him in position was that hook around the
Kathy, if you're watching this fight, come on, chime in. We want to know in the comments, what are you guys thinking of this 17-year-old kid? He's living up to the hype so far, man.
That was good work, though, to circle that same leg over into the body triangle to get him down, though. That was pretty slick.
Man. Yeah. Hey, phenom, maybe he is a phenom, dude. This kid's working.
Hey, man, this kid's taking a page out of the Blackpool Combat book with them elbows, bro.
Yeah, but like I said, Mondo's doing good work. We'll also see if this kid's got cardio.
It's on ESPN Plus, Cody. Yeah. I just got it open in another tab. We're just watching Mondo's fight. For those of you guys who are new here, Mondo's a multiple-time past guest of the show. We looking for that knee bar.
That stretch.
Boy, Mando, you flexible. You flexible.
Oh boy,
you gotta be to live through that one.
Uh oh. Mondo's a dog.
This kid could wear himself out, dude. I mean, he's been on top this whole time, holding on to his back.
He's doing a really good job of floating, though. Every time Mando goes to circle position or do any type of big movement to get out of position. He's
Good job.
he's
Put him
staying
back in
on
half
top.
guard.
That's good work. Rubber guard. Love to see it. Love to see it.
Let me tell you, for those of you you've never done jiu-jitsu, man, to be able to hold your rubber guard up there and to be able to keep it in place, man, you gotta be flexible.
Especially for somebody his size, right? Like the longer guys like myself, right? Like,
Oh man, this kid's got his back again.
So,
He might shake him off the top here, though. There you go. Watch that arm. Watch that arm. There you go. Get high, but just back up out of there. Don't knee. Whatever you do, don't knee him.
Of the position.
I agree 100%, but I'm just saying, be careful with that knee.
Yeah.
There he goes. He goes for that guillotine. That looks tight. That looks tight. It's arm in, but it looks tight. Let's go. Does he got him? Rosa's doing a good job of fighting the hands, but he's still got a good bite on him, man.
I don't know if he's got enough bite. I don't know.
Nah, he's back up on his knees.
Rosa's doing a good job of circling to the offhand.
Mondo's got to be careful he doesn't wear his arms out either, but it's a good way for him to end the round.
Yeah.
But then you also got to wonder, though, a lot of times, how are the judges, scoring that? Because even though Mondo's trying to choke him, sometimes a lot of these judges are still scoring it for the other guy being on top of him. What'd you guys think of round one? If any of you guys are watching Dana White's Contender Series, watching Mando do his thing in the cage. Kathy, what'd you think of round one?
Well, I'm not Kathy, but I'll be a Kathy for a second. And I thought round one goes to Rosa based on.
So is being a Kathy better than being a Karen?
In this position, definitely.
I would assume so.
But he did a good job of controlling position and stuff like that. I felt like Mando did a really good job, though, like I said, of not accepting position. That's a huge thing to me, man. You see so many guys get on the ground, and they're just kind of willing to stay there and accept the position as long as they're not getting damaged, and you did not see that from Mando in that first round. I do give it to Rosa based on position, though, but we'll see what the gas tanks are looking like on these guys coming into the second round.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I mean, you got to give it to Rosa first round, man. He was active, the more active fighter.
We'll have to see how his legs are, though, if that starched him, because, man, holding on to somebody's back, even if you've got their back for that long, or where's your legs out?
Yeah, and he didn't really
no way
that
kid's 17.
He just focused on position.
Look at that kid, man. He's 17 years old. Come on.
He's quick, though, man. And
that was a slick move right there, that fucking fake flying knee right into the takedown. That was slick.
Oh, man. Wow. Impressive, man. This kid's impressive.
But like I said, Mondo's done a great job of averting damage and kind of doing his best to either maintain or get a better position.
Oh, definitely. He's got to stay attacking, though, because the thing is, we've all heard how Dana is with these contracts right now. He wants people to be getting finishes. So he's got to be getting up. He's got to be getting up and wanting to throw hands. I mean, if they get back to their feet, I just think Mando might want to just go for broke and throw some hands here. But we're only in round, we only had that with, round one so far. There's still another round to go, and it only takes one shot. But the top pressure so far from this Rosa kid has been something else.
Yeah. Back in the mount now. Mando circles to his back. Like I say, though, he's doing a really good job of not accepting position. Yeah. I know he gave up his back there, but that's better than a top mount, in my opinion. Especially when the guy has
still moving. He's trying to keep.
He's going to throw this. He's going to dump this guy off the top of him.
Yeah. Yep. He's too high right now. He's slipping. There he is. Mondo's on top.
He needs to pull him away from the cage a little bit, though, so he doesn't have anywhere to wall walk. Good job of Rosa trying to get back to his knees.
Good job of Mando grabbing the opposite post hand.
There you go. Mondo's trying to switch it up a little bit. If he can keep coming out the back door, he might be able to take his back. Oh, but he's looking for that guillotine again.
They fucking guillotine, man. He needs to worry about position more than the guillotine at this current time.
I'd like to see him get back to his feet here. Get that leg out of there.
I mean, I know you guys are the MMA guys here. I know that going for that guillotine's got to wear you out a little bit, man.
Oh, dude, it destroys your arms.
It's just, and not only that, anytime you continually go for the same position, the same attack, your opponent knows kind of what they're dealing with, right? Like where in that moment, right? Like where he pulled that guillotine this most recent time, he definitely, if he would have been able to fight for that position a little bit more, could have circled to the back and then fought for a rear naked choke, which is a much, much, much more successful submission attempt. So he's just got to be more aware of the
There you go. Mondo's on top again. I would pull him away from the cage or look to stand back up, but there you go. Let's see what he can do with his top control. There you go. Couple shots there. Knee to the body. Look for the knee to the body.
See, like right here. Yep. Throw the hooks in. Yep.
Nice. Minute and a half. Plenty of time to work. Soften him up a little bit.
Same, Kathy. I'm with you.
Been an
there you go. Come out. Oh, man. Another good reversal from Rosa, though.
Man. Yeah, that was nice. Mando, see, yet again, Mando was a little bit unaware of the situational awareness there. If he wouldn't have been so steadfast on holding on to the submission attempt, he would have been able to better float on top.
I like that he's throwing up submissions, but at this point, I think Mando might need to get back to his feet and look to take this dude's head off.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting yet again to see where their gas tanks are at going into the third round. But I feel like this was definitely a much closer round. You could even arguably score it for Mando because he had the submission attempts where Rosa was just kind of holding position to this point. I'm actually kind of
I agree. I think it's been a close fight the whole time, but the problem is I think with Rosa being on top for so much of these rounds, if it comes down to a decision, it's going to end up being tight.
He's not, yeah, I agree. Absolutely. And that's where I said this second round was extremely close. But I feel like with the lack of damage that Rosa's doing from that top position, he's not even throwing up submission attempts or anything. He's doing a great job of getting to that position and even reversing Mando once he gets into, poor positions. But he hasn't done anything with the position where at least Mando is throwing up submission attempts. So it's supposed to be damage first, right? And submissions are more damaging than position. So I don't know. I mean, maybe a bit of hometown bias.
Just improving position the whole fight, which it's probably going to make it look like he's in more control here. But like you said, with the amount of submissions that he's trying to work with. But it's going to be interesting to see what the gas tanks are, like you said, in the third round. I know he's been going for that guillotine a few times, man. Like you said, that wears you out.
And shout out Lights Out. I know they were supposed to have Mando in their main event on this most recent card that they had to kind of reshuffle because of Mando making his Dana White Contender Series debut. So shout out Lights Out.
There you go,
Hope
Mando.
to see them here soon.
Yeah, we do. Well, November 12th, we already know Lights Out will be back in the building. We got the main event is going to be Austin Bash. There you go. Nice takedown for Mando. But we've got Austin Bashy back in the main event. And Kathy, if you're listening, it's not going to be just me on commentary this time. It's going to be me and the boss, Kenny Cross, will be on commentary for the Lights Out fight. So, like I said, if you're in the Dearborn Heights area, you're at Hype Athletics, you're looking to come see some fights, you're in the Downriver area, come through. You'll hear a familiar voice. Like I said, if you're watching on Spectation Sports, let us know what time it is.
How do you guys got this fight scored so far?
like I say, that second round, the first round was Rosa because of position 110%. But that second round, I'm very curious, right? Rosa won the position battle, but he did nothing with said position. Where at least when Mando did win the position battle for a moment, he was chasing finishes. And even while he was on the bottom, he was throwing guillotines and stuff like that. So that second round could go either way. It depends on what these judges are seeing. Are they, judging based upon control time, or are they judging based upon, at least the threat of finishing a fight?
He's got a cut on the bridge of his nose. It looks.
Yep, like. And Rosa's starting to open up a little bit here.
Mm-hmm. Done a great job of fighting position this whole fight, but it looks like maybe the gas is starting to run a little thin.
Dude, having a guy on top of you wrestling you this whole time, dude, will wear you out. For those of you guys who are just joining in, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like button, share button. We are watching past guests of the show, Mando Gutierrez in the cage right now for Dana White's Contender Series. We are in round 3, and it's Mondo's versus Rosa Jr., the 17-year-old phenom that, if you've been paying attention to social media all day, has been the talk of the town. And the kid is definitely tough, man. We were all questioning his strength of schedule, but he is definitely in there with somebody tough with Mando, and is definitely showing his own.
And like you guys noted earlier, Mondo's been around the block, man. He's no slouch here. He's definitely a vet, especially when it comes to this situation, man. So props to Rosas Jr. because he's definitely doing some work and he's looking good, man.
I feel like, though, even if this is the last 2 minutes that we end up seeing, is similar to what we've seen in the remainder of this third round, I feel like it still hasn't been necessarily enough, especially with the age and experience level for Rosa to.
I think he might get another Contender Series fight, if anything.
Yeah. And I honestly think Mando might as well, because he definitely fought his ass off against an underdog in this fight, and definitely just, you can tell he never gave up on himself throughout.
I feel like when Rosas anytime he takes the back, he's very high on the back.
You notice that too, huh?
Very high.
I don't know if it's just because he's the taller fighter.
Yeah, I was about to say it could be just his length, but I mean, Mando dropped him off his back a few times.
Yeah. Damn. It's definitely unfortunate when you have to see your boys kind of, go through these tough fights like this. I know I had noted it after the show last week, but I had a couple Twitter interactions in the past, and positive ones, which is rare for Twitter, with last week's Contender Series vet Brandon Lewis, who was in another grinding fight, man. And yeah, it's tough watching these guys you root for, go in there and get these tough losses. But man, both of which put on tough fights, and neither one gave up on themselves. So hopefully, maybe next season we'll see them in the Contender Series again and see, what has changed over a couple months' time.
Hey, man, for being a 17-year-old kid, he was just in there with a guy with a world more experience than him and at a top level, man, and he did it. I mean, he went in there and did his thing. So, I mean, I would guess, obviously, I would say that I think Rosa probably won that fight. Most likely, though, I agree with you. I don't know that I think he's going to get a contract out of that. I think, if anything, he may get a second fight on the Contender Series. I don't know. You guys who are watching this, watching this fight with Mando, do you think the Rosa kid did enough to get himself a contract, or do you think we see him in the Contender Series again? As you guys join the stream, if you guys are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like button. Let us know what you guys are thinking of Dana White's Contender Series. Obviously, like we said, the fight just ended. Past guest of the show, Mando Gutierrez, former LFA vet, Murcielago MMA stud, in the cage right now trying to get himself a UFC contract. Well, All right, man. We've talked a little bit about wrestling. We've talked about big fight feels and all these kind of things. Tomorrow night is also AEW Grand Slam. J-Bone, you're the hip-hop guy more so out of all of us on the group. What are your thoughts with Action Bronson and Hook versus Daddy Magic and Cool Hand Ange tomorrow?
First of all, I love Daddy Magic, dude. That dude's awesome. But hey, man, Kyle, we talked about this earlier, man. I'm not big on having music guys in the wrestling world, but Action Bronson, hey, legit badass, dude. Queen's own, bro. That dude talks a big game in his music, and from what I see, he ain't nothing to fuck with. So the fact that he's with Hook makes him a dangerous team. I mean, I know the guy's an athlete, but I feel like we're kind of riding that line too much nowadays of putting musicians into the ring. Yeah, it's not.
But is it okay? So I can respect that, but here's why I don't have a problem with Action Bronson in the ring. Because as long as it's taken seriously, I mean, you just mentioned Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny did his thing. Yep. We mentioned Logan Paul. Logan Paul is now signed with the WWE and is going to face Roman fucking Reigns at Crown Jewel for the title. Tell me how that works. I need to figure out how them ranking systems work. I mean, I know it's the land of money, but Logan Paul versus Roman Reigns is something that I would have never thought we'd have saw this soon, but I mean, hey, Saudi wants it, Saudi gets it, bro. I don't know. What are your
surprising?
What are your thoughts on Logan Paul getting a title shot, bro?
I feel like it is. I don't know. I don't know. Did Jake Paul or something pay them to like advertise for like his fight or something? And they're like, hey, if you could like put my brother in like a high tier match, that would be great. So
well, no, I don't know if you paid attention, bro, because you weren't watching with me. But if you watched the Canelo Triple G fight, which we'll get into in a couple minutes here, dude, Logan Paul was on there then, and they were pumping him versus Roman Reigns. So I mean, and how smart of the WWE with that big gap in between when Triple G fight started and when UFC ended and all that, to have a press conference where everybody's already going to be there in Vegas. I mean, hey, bro, where I come from, that sounds to me like striking while the iron's hot. If nothing else, I've said since he came into wrestling, dude, Logan Paul is going to put more eyes on it, and if it does, it does. I'll tell you one thing, though. I've been hearing it floated around that they're already talking about wanting to split up the Universal title already again. If that's being thrown around, I just really hope that it's not Logan Paul to do it. Can we just I mean, we've seen some crazy title changes like with the Fiend and Goldberg and all that stuff. I'm really hoping that that's not where that goes.
Look, I'll try to keep it short and sweet on this. I know we'll get into it later on when we get closer to it, but I really hope this is I know it's just a money grab. We all know that, right? It's probably one of the bigger money grabs they're going to have all year. But I really hope that it's short, shocking, and just quick as hell. Like, there's no way you can convince me that a guy, even as good as he looks in the ring, because he's an athlete, there's no way you convince me that an outsider is going to come in and take over the greatest championship reign, perhaps, of all time. I want Roman Reigns, and this is my early prediction. I want Roman Reigns to squash him. I want him to do it in under 30 seconds, and I want him to just stand over him like, you don't fuck with the champ, dude. This is WWE.
I mean, I'm not wrong with you, bro, because I don't want to see Roman get made to look like a punk, but let's not forget, past guests of the motherfucking show, Austin Theory still has that Money in the Bank briefcase. What if he comes down and inserts himself in it somehow and maybe he gets pinned so that Roman doesn't have to be the one that loses the belt? I mean, I'm just saying it's not past the realm of possibility for some dumb shit like that to happen in Saudi. I mean, we've already seen it with Goldberg and The Fiend. We've seen, Goldberg and Undertaker almost kill themselves. Saudi can bring some crazy things. I don't know if it's the heat or the sand or what does it, but
that's what's going to happen. If that happens, I just want you to know that I have to be in the market for a new TV because I will put my head right through the fucking TV. Just saying. So That's all I got on that one.
Hey, I can't argue that. Well, before we get off of wrestling, I did want to touch a little bit more of the AEW Grand Slam because we got some big things coming here. Obviously, that was a huge show that they had when they had it last year. You know, like I mentioned, we've already mentioned you got Action Bronson and Hook versus Daddy Magic and Cool Hand Nange. I think that's going to be awesome. You've got John Moxley versus Bryan Danielson for your interim AEW World Championship. And that means that regardless of how this match plays out, now that'll mean at the conclusion of this, you're going to have the Blackpool Combat Club is going to have control of the Ring of Honor title. They're going to have control of the AEW World title. They don't have the Pure title anymore because Wheeler Yuta lost it to Garcia. But, I mean, they've got both world titles in AEW inside the Blackpool Combat Club. It's a hell of a statement. And I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb, but I don't think it's a pretty big limb to go out on. But I feel like Moxley versus Danielson is going to be a fucking war. How are you guys feeling about this one, and who do you think's going to win?
That is going to be a war. You're right, dude. That's going to be a very physical match. That's I don't want to call it the match of the night because I already have my pick for match of the night. But I think Danielson's going to win this one. I think. Only because of what we know behind the scenes with Mox. I mean, let's face it, dude. The guy, he's the face of that whole place, dude. But dude deserves a vacation. It's been well documented that he had to postpone his vacation to quote unquote save the company. So give the man a vacation. Let somebody else hold the belt for a minute.
So normally I'd be with that, but don't you feel like given the circumstances of how everything kind of played out, like in a way, like because everything went the way it did, like part of me almost feels like, especially with having him in the finals to do it, like in a way, I feel like it's got to be Mox.
You would think
like,
so. Hopefully just run the other way with it. Like I said, dude needs some time off, man. He's taking.
I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, I'm not saying I got any problem with the guy getting time, but I almost feel like after the way things with Punk went with Punk, and then for them to have to vacate all the titles and all that, and now you're in a spot where, you know, now he's back in the title picture. In a way, I almost feel like it's got to be Mox. But then again, you know.
I feel like it's the opposite because I feel like because Mox was the one that got the belt taken off of him, if you basically immediately put it back on him, whether or not he ran through the Grand Prix or not, I feel like it kind of just like you guys talk about it all the time where it's like, does it add to the belt or does it take away from the belt? And I feel like that would be something, even though Mox,
I don't think if they have a war, it takes anything away, though, because I feel like that's going to be what we're going to get out of it. You're going to get a drag-out fucking brawl. And, I mean, I feel like if you have that, that doesn't hurt somebody.
Like I had noted before when I had said if you're going to, you know, do a big tournament like this would be the perfect time to bring up a prospect. Not that Danielson's much of a prospect at this point. He's more of like a, legitimized star and stuff, but he still hasn't held the belt. So.
Maybe the best wrestler in the world. Maybe.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is he still hasn't held your belt. Yeah. So if given the circumstance where he's in that final match to win it at the end of a tournament, it wouldn't be a big surprise to me if he's the one.
I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
I'm just ready to shake up the picture. You know what I mean? Like no disrespect to Mox, like I said, he's been carrying the company, but when you look at the world title picture, it's always been Mox, Hangman, Jericho, Punk, you know what I mean? It's just let's shake it up, man. Let's get DB in there or BD, however you want to say no, and fucking
American Dragon. Get the baby daddy in there. Get the baby daddy in there.
Have him start taking on these younger dudes, man. Showing them why he is who he says he is. That's the best in the world. So why not? Let's shake it up a little bit until everybody figures out what the hell is going on in AEW and people start coming back and things get back to normal. If they get back to normal, jeez.
Yeah, it seems
all
like
I know
AEW is definitely taken an interesting direction lately, huh?
Well, it's funny you say that, though, because, Dave, shout out to past guest of the show, Dave LaGreca from Busted Open. Dave was telling us this morning that, he said he thought the same thing, that with Punk being gone, it would be a big hurt for AEW, but he said that their numbers were like the highest they've had in like a year on that next episode. So, I mean, Then again, I mean, we'll have to see how it plays out. I mean, I don't think it's a good look for the way that all that went down. But then again, shout out to them for trying to make the best of a shitty situation and continuing to try to move forward. I mean, yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? You can't, you can't change what was said and what was done. You can only move forward. I'm definitely still interested to see what we're going to see from the devil now that he's back, MJF. But
that's the wild
either way,
card
man.
right there. That's the wild card. I've never know what's going to happen with him. He's still got that coin or token or whatever, the chip. So we'll see.
Got his poker chip. Well, in the other match that I am personally really looking forward to, I said it on our all-out recap, which you can check out if you haven't already done so. Dude, that match between the Acclaimed and Swerve in Our Glory was fucking money. And they're going to run that back as a rematch in New York and Queens at the Arthur Ashe, bro. I feel like that crowd is going to be hot. It's going to be nuts. Yeah. Do you think we get new champs tomorrow, J-Bone?
I do. I think we do, man. I think that last match was like a real feeler of what it's going to be like. Let's kind of see how the crowd's going to react if this were going to happen. And they jumped on the bandwagon, dude. They were red hot. I mean, it was to the point where the crowd was turning on Swerve. You know what I mean? So why not?
That crowd was definitely hot, bro. And the way they were going, with how hot they got, I really thought that we might see a new champion.
I thought we were going to get it already, yeah. Like I said, I think that might have been a feeler. Let's see how they're going to react. So it's going to be double this time.
Well, that's why I was so surprised that they had them defend the title the next week after they announced that they're going to face him. Because I'm like, well, if you already announced that for Arthur Ashe, well, now what? But I definitely am looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with that. I think that's going to be one of the matches that's a big sleeper on this one.
What about your match of the night? Did you say your match? Was that your match of the night? Or did I say that?
I think the match of the night's going to be Moxley versus Danielson. I think that's a foregone conclusion. But that being said, I mean, if it's not that match, I mean, again, I'm on record in saying that match at All Out might have stole the whole show for me. So if they're going to run that back and they get enough time to have a match, which they should with it being a title match, I mean, that match with Swerve and Keith Lee and the Acclaimed might be badass. But I mean, dude, at the end of the night, we might be seeing, instead of scissor me daddy ass, they might be scissoring some new AEW belts in this bitch. I'm definitely going to have to look and see what AEW Grand Slam is hitting on. But, bro, I'm not going to be able to see if AEW Grand Slam was money or not, because you and I are going to be a little bit busy, out there enjoying fucking life and jelly rolls, but not the, the kind with the strawberry filling out there at Pine Knob, Shine Down. I've only got a few days left and I'm going to fucking turn 30. I'm getting old. Yeah, dude. So we're going to go check out Shine Down. I'm going to have to check that out when we get back. I'm definitely looking forward to AEW Grand Slam. It was a busy weekend last weekend too. I was at the Lions game. We got a W. I'll take plenty of credit for that. And
we are winners, baby.
Feel free to send money to my Cash App. My birthday is going to be this weekend, so feel free to send money to Cash App, and I'll do everything I can to make sure that the Lions can win again next week too. But that being said, yeah, man, it was a wild fucking weekend.
Guys, just send the money and we're gonna win. It's fine.
I know. If the Lions, if you're listening, bro, we're always looking for sponsors. Speaking of sponsors, check out our sponsors at G3 Payroll Tax and Accounting and tell them motherfuckers Knockouts and 3 Counts sent you. We're getting close to tax season, and Jack and the team at G3 Payroll and Tax will get you together. I promise you. My taxes were sitting pretty last year. But with that being said, check out the homies. But with that being said, UFC Vegas 60, my fucking parlays went down the hole again. Yeah, I got to give Song Yadong. Yadong was on Song on UFC Vegas 60. I got to give him credit because, man, Corey Sandhagen, you took things to another level of precision with the way he cut that man up. And I tell you, in a lot of ways, if you're Song Yadong, you got to wonder if it weren't for the fact that there was the big hole in RoboCop's face right before that, if that fight wouldn't have gotten stopped way before that. So
so bad, dude.
I had heard I had heard that point made on many shows where, if the co-main hadn't have went the way that it had went, where RoboCop not only had that vicious, like nasty cut for anybody that's seen that image, which was circulating everywhere.
Don't go.
Yeah, it was rough, man. Unless you're like into that stuff, it was rough. I mean, you could see like the big vascular vein running up and through his it was rough. Thank God the after shot of the stitching looked pretty well. But to your point, Kyle, if that fight hadn't have played out where he was still able to, despite the injury, get the victory, I don't think we would have seen that Song Yadong fight make it out of even the third round, honestly. When they stopped him for the second time and they're like, hey, man, that cut's pretty serious, huh? Like,
Yeah.
I think it would have been over then. But either way, Song put on a hell of a performance, especially for dealing with the injury that he did. I feel like Corey Sandhagen did what he had to do, had a great fight against a rising prospect that I feel like will definitely be in that upper echelon. It's just a matter of when. I feel like Song Yadong put on an incredible performance. As much as I'm a fan of Corey Sandhagen going into the fight and everything and was rooting heavy, I feel like I ended up out of the fight being just as much a fan of Song Yadong, where he was able to deal with the injury, was still applying pressure, was doing his thing, and really didn't seem phased and kept that high guard and was doing a great defense against one of the most creative strikers in his division in Corey Sandhagen. So I'm excited to see what happens once Song heals up that massive wound on his face. I agreed with the stoppage, that's for sure. But other than that, man, what fight makes the most sense in your guys' eyes for Sandhagen next?
I feel like him getting that win and getting the win the way he did, I think that keeps him in that top, in that top echelon of fighting those guys. I kind of feel like that's kind of where we were for Sandhagen. I feel like if the roles would have been reversed and Sandhagen lost that fight, I think he would have definitely been, kind of down the line. I think if Song would have won that fight, he may have taken Corey Sandhagen's spot. I think him winning that fight solidifies that he needs to stay up there. It also solidifies that Song is worthy of fighting that caliber of guys as well. But with that being said, I think that Sandhagen will probably get a pretty high ranking fight. I mean, you still got to see the TJ Dillashaw fight come out and a few other things go down at 135. So I think out of that fight, Sandhagen's going to be right in the thick of things. And I don't think Song Yadong is really going anywhere either. I really think that both guys did a lot for their stock there. I think Sandhagen showed that he still needs to be up there. Song Yadong shows that he can be there. I think that it's going to be really interesting to see where both of those guys go. But man, you talk about seeing it's interesting where guys go, dude. I was so torn on this one because I literally had one guy on the one parlay and one guy on the other parlay. I mean, Chidi Njokuani, the brother of Anthony Njokuani, dude, he was putting it on RoboCop. I mean, he like busted this man's nose so wide open that you could see clear down into his booger meat. I mean, he had a whole ass fucking hole in his face. Like it was pretty fucking gnarly.
First strike of the fight too. First strike of the fight. Like literally, it wasn't even like truly a strike. RoboCop rushed in to try to shoot the takedown, and Chikiwani, I'm sure that's completely off, but I really struggle with his name for some reason. He landed that vicious knee as a counter as soon as he went to shoot in. So it was literally within the first 15 seconds of the fight. He had one of the worst cuts that we've seen in months in the UFC. So, I mean, wild. Just for it to start out that way and then for him to continue to pour on the pressure, really. He had RoboCop in quite a few compromised positions in that first round. It wasn't like that was the only fight ending style strike that he landed. No, he had quite a few good moments, and there's definitely a reason why that fight won fight of the night, in my opinion.
Should have. I mean, they beat the living dog shit out of each other.
I want to ask you guys something real quick though, going back to the cuts in the two fights. So the one cut, obviously right here, right, huge hole. They let the guy continue. It's just because I had somebody ask me this question. I want you guys to help clarify. Now, Song's cut was up on the eye, going inward to the eye, right? That makes a huge difference on how the doctor decides to.
Well, also the thing you got to take into account with Song versus the RoboCop one is like Song straight up said in his corner, I can't see out of my eye. Like I can't see punches coming from this side. As soon as you say that, you're as good as done. Where RoboCop, he was bleeding all over the place and there was a hole in his face, but because they were still standing, it wasn't necessarily like bleeding down into his face. And shout out to the cut man that they had over there because they were able to stop the bleeding. And I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if it did, but I mean, the way that went down, it was almost like RoboCop was like, oh shit, I've only got about half a round before this thing bust loose and just started landing bombs on Chidi Njokuani, which eventually led to the stoppage for him. I mean, I think if that had made it into the next round, I think Chidi Njokuani probably stops him off of blood alone because, I mean, he was landing shots, but I think RoboCop went back out there knowing that I have to get this fight over with because I got a fucking hole in my face.
Huge hole, dude. A third eye.
In my opinion, it comes down to two things, right? First, we'll give the medical diagnosis, right? The cut grew legs, as all of the fight doctors and fight officials have continued to say. I know it's a weird term, but that's what they call it. To your point, where the cut itself, say, is in this direction, but when you start to see an arch come down in either up or down direction, that's what they refer to as the cut growing legs, and that's where they usually are very quick to stop the fight then, because then that's when the cut starts to really like explode instead of just being a gash, you know what I mean? And then secondly, I feel like the reason why we've seen a stoppage in the main event was the duration of the cut, right? Like they kept giving Song the chance to be able to possibly get the finish, and I feel like that was the same thing they did with RoboCop. But because that fight continued to go where the cut occurred, if I'm not mistaken, in the second round, and we seen the stoppage going into the fifth round, so you're talking 3 rounds of fighting in between there. That's a whole nother fight, you know, if it wasn't the main event. So they gave him enough time to attempt to win the fight, do his thing, and then not only that, the cut started to grow legs. So that's why they stopped the fight in that main event compared to in the co-main, in my opinion.
Perfect.
Well,
I hope you guys weren't eating during that fight, by the way.
Whew.
A little squeamish, are we?
Yeah, I don't like seeing people's insides. That
not for me. Not
for
me.
Puss. But with that being
in a hole, like you just like.
Hey man, like I said, mine wasn't a hole, but I literally split my face in the same spot that he did, and boy, did it bleed like a geyser. So, yeah, that sucks. Yes. But with that being said, you know what didn't suck, dude? What didn't suck was the career of Jose Aldo, and I just so happened to have the UFC 218 Detroit shirt on while we're doing this show because I got to meet one of the greatest of all time there. Ring the bell. Fuck you, Kyle. Me and Devin were there for the UFC 218 open workouts. I got to meet him and Max Holloway there, as well as Overeem and our current heavyweight champion, Francis Ngannou, before those fights, man. And we found out that the legend himself, Jose Aldo, has retired. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think it's the right time? Do you think we see him come back? How do you think this plays out for Scarface, Jose Aldo Jr.?
Well, I want to preference it because you had kind of mentioned as well, do we see him come back? He retired from MMA. That's what he officially announced, and even his managers came out and said he may be looking to take some professional boxing bouts and stuff in the future. So I do think we see him in some capacity, but I don't think we see him in the MMA sphere unless maybe like somebody signs him for some one-off or something type of deal. But either way, the big point that I want to emphasize here is shout out Jose Aldo. I feel like the MMA media yet again has done a very good job of kind of breaking down his career. Not only was he arguably the greatest of all time at 145 for both the UFC and the WEC.
He's the greatest featherweight of all
Yeah.
time right now. Volko is on his way there, but dude, like he's gonna have to go a bit first.
Yeah, well, I feel like you could also argue Holloway in there because of the 2 victories.
Oh,
Over
100%.
in the lengthy period. But either way, Jose Aldo, not only was he had the incredible career at 45, dealt with the adversity in the Conor McGregor fight, came back and still had a very successful career at 45. Then transitioned later in his career down to 35 so that he would have a legitimate reason to draw interest towards a title fight again. From there, had that tough fight with Marlon Moraes that everyone felt like he won, even though the judges gave it the other way. Clearly, the UFC felt the same way. They gave him the title fight off of that, had the tough fight with Jan. But he showed this ability to continue to bounce back, whether it was the toughest fight that he had to deal with in his career, the terrible circumstances in the Conor McGregor fight, or at least in his side of the deal. He just continued to show this true adversity where nothing ever seemed to really faze him, and he was always going to try to bring the best version of Jose Aldo. And that's where that'll be my forever memory of the King of Rio, is the guy that truly did everything he can to try to bring the best version of himself every time he went out there.
You guys have a highlight moment for Jose Aldo?
The one that sticks out to me,
the one that
sticks out to me is the fight against Uriah Faber. I have never seen somebody eat somebody's leg up the way Jose Aldo did Uriah Faber, to the point where Uriah Faber couldn't fight anymore after that. Let's just call it what it is, bro. He couldn't fight anymore. I mean, he could barely walk. I mean, Aldo was just chopping him down like a tree. And with that being said, I think that's one of the biggest differences we saw from Jose Aldo down the stretch after he had that car accident or the motorcycle crash. He didn't throw his leg kicks as much as he did, previous. So, like I said, I think there's a lot of factors to it. That's why if boxing is going to be the next avenue that he tries to go to, I mean, dude, I think Jose Aldo could still take some people's heads off because he's still only 36. Like, we're not talking about a guy who's already in his 40s either. So, I don't know. Go ahead.
What was the fight? The fight was against Cub Swanson, where he just came out with the flying knee.
Yep.
With the WC, right? He just came out with the flying knee, dude, and it was like 10 seconds. It just smoked him. That's probably my favorite Jose Aldo moment. That was awesome.
For me, I would say both the Mendez fights. The fact that he was able to kind of roll through Chad the first fight, and then the second fight dealt with the adversity a bit, but not really adversity, just dealt with a much tougher version of the fight that was laid in front of him, and the ability to still just kind of dominate throughout it was truly impressive to me at the time.
I can't argue that at all, dude. I mean, you talk about, if it's not Aldo, it's got to be Holloway. But I mean, like I said, you're talking about a straight legend. I don't know where we see him go next as far as boxing and all that. Speaking of that, we're hearing, Nick Diaz already saying he'd be down for something with Jake Paul. We're going to have to see what happens out of this with him and Anderson Silva first. But I think there's some good prospects for both Nate and Aldo outside the UFC. I don't know that I necessarily think it's the last time we're going to see him in a ring. Hell, I mean, I'm also not ruling out the idea of, look at what PFL's been doing. I mean, if somebody else tries to sign Jose Aldo or something like that, I wouldn't be shocked or surprised, motherfuckers. What I was surprised though by, not surprised maybe isn't the right word. But what got me? I thought that Triple G was going to put up much better of a fight this time than he did. I mean, it's not like it was a blowout by any means, but at the same time, dude, I mean, I think Canelo, Canelo's got his win. It was a much less eventful of a fight than the previous two. What do you guys think about this fight? And I'll tell you what I think about this fight and the DAZN app after you're done.
I wanted my money back off the free stream. That's how I felt about the fight, man. That fight was not the most entertaining at all, especially for the buildup and kind of the anticipation that at least I was feeling, right? Like I felt like this was Triple G's shot to really lay it all on the line. This is like maybe potentially his last like career send off of his like big fights. At least like he'll go down and defend his title and stuff again, I'm sure, but this was probably his last like signature fight, so go out there and pour it all in there.
Yeah,
apparently the judges thought he did, but I did not. I thought he did not put any type of action in that fight until the last like 3 rounds, and even at that, those last 3 rounds could have been scored either way. So it was definitely not the most entertaining fight in the world, that's for sure. And from somebody like Canelo, who's known for stopping people and putting that damage on people, I don't know if it was the fact that he's coming off that loss to Bivol, and he wanted to make sure that that wasn't even a possibility in this fight, coming against a fellow heavy puncher in Triple G. I don't know if that led into it, or if it was just a game plan thing because he's fought the guy twice, or if he just didn't. I watched a couple interviews leading into the fight that week, and he just kind of seemed, there, I guess you could say, would be like a description for it. He didn't seem like he was too tuned up for the fight and excited necessarily. It seemed like he was saying the words that everybody wants to hear, but not necessarily putting any emphasis behind them. And I feel like that's the fight we've seen once it played out. It was just kind of lackluster. He cruised to the win, but definitely not what I expected.
J-Bone, what did you think of the fight?
I'm with you, man. I think that was his last little hoorah at a big fight like that, and he got outboxed, outpunched the whole fight, man. But I'll tell you what, for what it was, the entrances and the ring announcing, the presentation for that event really gave you the big fight feel. It didn't give you that big fight feel once it was over. It wasn't even like that. But what a big fight feel, man. But as the story goes, King Canelo, man, it is what it is. So I'm looking forward to see what's next. See who's next.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've obviously seen the last chapter of Triple G and Canelo at this point. I clearly don't think that the fight lived up to the hype, but I mean, it is what it is. I think that's what a lot of people kind of thought we were going to get. But what I thought I was going to get for $100 was to be able to watch the fight on DAZN. I went through the whole thing to reactivate the app, pay for the damn pay-per-view, do all that shit, and then you go to get back on the app and it still won't let me do it. And then their customer service is like just the messenger. So like they left me on waiting for them to transfer me to. I called the bank because I couldn't watch the fight, and then they tell me it's already been reversed too. So, DAZN was trying to get their bread, because for anybody who doesn't know, it was like $20 for the subscription, and then you had to pay like the $84 for the fight itself. Like, dude, they were definitely trying to get over, and all I know is that shit with the DAZN app was frustrating as fuck.
I definitely didn't watch it on the DAZN app, but my neighbors were watching it, and they just happened to have a huge screen TV outside, so I could just watch it. Lucky me, right? It was free. So.
Yeah, about that. No, my thoughts are, to your point on the production level and stuff. DAZN does a good job of that. They've been shown, man, most of especially their bigger fights, that they do a good job of building that stuff up. But my thing is, to Kyle's point, and it wasn't even necessarily the point that you made, but I feel like it's the underlining point there. DAZN made such a big deal when they came onto the sphere of the combat realm of like, hey, we are going to have a ton of premium content with top level guys for a subscription fee. You don't have to pay for pay-per-views. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. All you have to do is subscribe to our network, and we will provide you with top level boxing Formula One events and so on and so forth, because they do host a decent amount of, other content as well. And then for them to all of a sudden, well, we got Canelo, so he's the biggest star, so we got to charge pay-per-view for that, is kind of bullshit to me, in my opinion. And then for it to not even work once you do get a new subscriber who's interested in watching, or returning subscriber in your case, Kyle, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. And don't tell me you didn't get your money, because it charged me and all that shit, and then it still didn't work. So it's like,
yeah, that's not great. That's definitely not a good look. And like I say, when you built your whole platform on, no premium, we have premium events without the paid cost, and then a huge paid cost once you're 3-4 years into your endeavor, and then it's not even working for your customers. That's not a good look.
Agreed.
I definitely wanted to watch that fight. The DAZN app kind of fucking sucked for me on that one. If anybody else had issues with the DAZN app when they were watching it, feel free to drop that in the comments. Get this some dentures. Man, I'm with you, man. I was hoping Mando was gonna give this 17-year-old kid some dentures, but unfortunately, the 17-year-old got the dub. Shout out to the kid. He showed up on Fight Night, big stage. I don't know that he gets a contract out of it, but I do think that they may give him another Contender Series fight. Kind of like what they did with Bo Nickel, although I'm kind of surprised that Bo Nickel didn't just get a contract, because I feel like whoever he's going to fight on Dana White Contender Series here in a week or two, Bo Nickel's going to smash him. Yeah. He looks like Rocky.
He definitely looks like something, man. He definitely.
I'm not,
man.
That's cool, man,
like that.
Hey, man, we're with you, man, because like we said, Mando Gutierrez is a past guest of the show. If you guys are new here and we're watching Dana White's Contender Series, we've also got past interviews with past Dana White Contender Series contestants like Jimmy Flick, who will be making his return back to the UFC here real soon. Yeah, man, definitely ready to see what we see next from Mando. Definitely wish it would have went a little bit better for tonight. But with that being said, usually on these Tuesdays are like my long night. Technically, it's still a long night, but I'm off tomorrow because, it's time for jelly rolls. Oh, no, those are donuts. But jelly roll and Shinedown is going to be fucking badass. If anybody who's watching this is going to be at Pine Knob and is going to be seeing this badass show, make sure you come say what up to your boys over here at Knockouts at 3 Counts. And the J-Bone Show will be live and in living color. We'll be talking a little bit about, this here concert. And we've got a lot of cool things coming down the pike for you from Knockouts and 3 Counts. J-Bone, how are you feeling about this Shinedown and Jelly Roll concert, bro?
Oh, dude, I'm pumped, man. I'm ready to go. Weather's going to be nice. It's always a nice time at Pine Knob Music Theater, classic venue. Mm-hmm. Music's going to be good. The people are going to be live, man. You know how it goes down. It's going to be great. Pumped. Let's go.
Hey, man, I'm with it, dude. Like I said, last few days of my 20s over here turned into big 3-0 on Sunday. I'm getting fucking old in this bitch. So if I'm going to get old in this bitch, I'm going to go out with a bang. You already know what time it is. We are going to be back live this Thursday. Don't know who's going to be on the show yet. We got a lot going down. You know what the deal is. Make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure that you check out our sponsors at G3 Payroll, Tax, and Accounting. Make sure you tell them Knockouts at 3 Counts sent you. And, man, you might want to be making sure that you stay tuned to the local shows that are going to be around the Michigan area because, man, I heard it might get real scummy soon. So with that being said, make sure you hit that subscribe button, the like button, the share button. And if you feel so inclined, I'm turning 30. Send me some money on my Cash App so I don't feel so old. Until the next time and in the in-between time, peace. Pay for my retirement home.